right, Matthew Oliver here from House of Oliver. Thank you for checking in to the House of Oliver YouTube channel. We do a lot of live videos, but every once in a while we want to make things look beautiful and clean cut and lovely. So here I am with the one and only Assemblyman Kevin Kiley. Cheers, roars, laughter. I don't know why there's laughter, at least no booze. So we're taking a moment, reflecting a little bit on this past season and also the future, because your future is about to change big time. I mean, it's been changing, but it's about to, I think, even more wild, even more exciting, filled with potential, possibilities. I don't know. But we really, I feel like, people, they see us because we've been a lot of places together. We've wound up at, I kind of say, the same parties together, you know, representing freedom together, voices for, you know, those that felt like they didn't have a voice for a long time. But so I have a lot of people go, man, you and Kevin are good friends. Yes. I think we met 2 years ago-ish at this very table.
That's right.
This was the moment. This is where it all started.
This is where it all started.
And we were talking about, I mean, it was just starting to, I was just a wee little restaurateur at that time, trying to get understanding because nothing made sense. None of the mandates were making sense. We were getting under scrutiny at our restaurant, House of Oliver. But none of it made sense. And I'm like, well, who to go to? I go to the Assemblyman, who should know, clearly define definitively what the rules were. And I think we laughed together because none of us knew what the rules were at that point in time. I still don't know what the rules are.
Exactly. And they change every day.
Yeah, and at that point, they were changing every day. I remember somebody came in and they said, well, why couldn't you just follow the rules? And I said, well, you know, at that point, what were they saying? 6 feet apart at the tables outside or 8 feet? But this was the thing. And I tried to explain to someone. They're saying millions, which we don't even want to go there, but millions of lives dying because of COVID. And yet no one could take 10 minutes to write the actual guidelines down. So you come out to our place and we have tables and they go, okay, well, we want the tables 8 feet apart. Well, is that 8 feet apart from table to table? Or are we going from corner to corner? Do we go from the chair? Is it the chair with somebody sitting in it or the chair with somebody, you know, not sitting? Like, where is the actual guideline? But at the same time, they had no problem running in and fining you and scrutinizing you and trying to shut you down if you broke the rule. You just never knew what the rule was. It was so...
Exactly. It's like the rule of law just totally collapsed. You know, suddenly bureaucrats were empowered to simply, shut down your business, fine you, remove your license based purely on a whim.
Exactly, a whim. A whim became law.
Exactly.
But you're part of the people making these laws, so I needed you in here.
Well, at least I was supposed to be, but then the governor decided that was his job in addition to being governor, so...
All he does now, he makes laws by just his mandates, his emergency, which evidently in the state of California, we are still in an emergency. How long has this emergency lasted?
Well, we're coming up on the big 2-year anniversary in early March. So I don't know. Do you have any big plans to celebrate?
Let me get my Newsom bell out and we're going to have a party. I look back, you know, over these past 2 years, and I just am shocked. I remember doing Newsom Hour, which was my happy hour after 10 o'clock, which we weren't allowed to do. And then I remember the governor threatening to come in and arrest me on New Year's Eve, which was a highlight of my life. I remember the alcohol beverage control walking in without masks on to serve me paperwork and fine me for my staff not wearing masks. So in exact violation. So it's been a wild year. I'm sure you have some highlights.
Well, that was back when cloth masks were not effective, they told us. Then we spent 1.5 years with cloth masks are effective, and now we're back to cloth masks are not effective. So it's very interesting. Which
I went online and I found that the California State Health Department in 2018 submitted mask guidelines because of fires and said, do not wear the N95 mask for prolonged periods of time because it's damaging to your health. This is from the California State Health Department.
All right.
And now, of course, it's the only mask that we should wear anymore. So what would you say over the last season of this is kind of the most baffling, mind-boggling moment you had?
Oh, what a difficult question. There are just so many. So many. It's just been one thing after another. The most baffling and most mind-boggling.
While you're thinking about it, can I say one of my favorite moments was the fact that you were running in a recall for governor against the guy who had a bear.
That's right. There was the bear.
That is like a pretty wild.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a circus.
I think our lawsuit, because we, in the very early stages, James Gallagher and I sued Gavin Newsom for abusing these emergency powers. And he came out and said it in his brief, that a state of emergency, quote, centralizes the state's powers in the hands of the governor. And said that multiple times, which is the very definition of an autocracy. It's in fact what James Madison in the Federalist Papers said is the very definition of tyranny. And here was the governor putting this in a brief. And he has, of course, lived out that legal theory for the last 2 years. And even to this day is refusing to end the state of emergency, as you say, and recently said they don't even have any standard or metrics for when the emergency is going to end.
And you have a problem with this? Why? They say it and then they're shocked that you believe the Constitution and you want your rights, and that why would you dare question anything that's going on? I think that's probably been one of my biggest frustration is people keep saying, oh, Oliver, you're so political. I'm not. You're political. I haven't been political. I am a small business owner who has employees that all I'm trying to do is continue to get them paid and see them taken care of. This wasn't even about making money, because most people, I laugh. They go, oh, you're just about making money. I'm in the restaurant industry. We don't make money. We get abused by people. We serve our community. We really opened what House of Oliver was and is to meet the community, as a kind of watering hole, a cheers, as it could be said. We did all this, but I wasn't political. That's not what I'm into this for. But we asked questions, and asking questions forced us into a camp. It's easy to label people and shove you into camp because then you can silence them. And just because I was asking questions, we got thrown into a camp, we got labeled, we got pushed aside. And I think people would be really shocked to find out if they asked me actually my political beliefs. Most people don't want to know. They just want to label you, put you aside.
Right.
Now shut up and don't talk about it.
That's
anymore. Right. But, okay, so the lawsuit was kind of a big deal, which you won initially. But still the governor, and we talked about it, I think, even a couple of times. It's like an octopus. He has so many arms. You cut off one, but he's abusing you with 4 others.
That's right.
But tell him a little bit. Now, you ran in the recall election. You did, I think, way outperformed what I was expecting. You did so good. But how was that journey? What was that like, especially visiting all parts of California?
Well, it was a great experience, and there's actually 2 phases of it because, I, along with you, were very actively involved in just qualifying the recall for the ballot.
Yeah.
And so I traveled all across the state doing events to gather signatures and that sort of thing, and it was amazing because I saw this movement just coming together, something that we really have never had before in California, and, a recall attempt that everyone had written off. No one said this had any chance to qualify for the ballot. We not only qualified it for the ballot, we got more signatures than any petition drive in United States history. With with huge numbers of people coming out and who had been told that your voice doesn't matter anymore, saying no, yes it does. And so I think that whatever the ultimate result was, that is something that was incredibly important and incredibly inspiring to me. And so I ended up entering as a candidate as well, although I only did so 2 months before the election, so it was a very short campaign because I thought that would help to propel the movement forward and give us the best chance for the recall to succeed. And I was really happy happy with how we did, especially in this area. Had huge support here in my home district, as well as in a lot of other parts of the state. But the important thing about the recall is that even though it didn't pass, the polls showed that it was a tie vote just a couple weeks before voting began. It was only because Newsom spent $70 million, changed the rules of the election, put out these lies on TV. Even the Associated Press said they were lies, had to bring in all the big names, Obama, Biden, Kamala. I don't know how much some of these people helped, but to campaign on his behalf. It was only then that they were able to sort of hold the movement back. And what I've seen in the aftermath, by the way, is I thought that people would be sort of demoralized, and maybe that was true for like a day, but the movement has only continued to grow, and I think it's more powerful now than ever.
I think you're right, and we've seen it. I mean, they've awakened in not just in governor races, in school districts, in city councils, and county districts. I mean, I'm pumped every time I turn around, and we're not talking professional politicians. And this is one of the things I think I really appreciate about what you brought to the table. You've been a school teacher. You've been involved in lives. You know, you're impacting. You've been there, boots on the ground. Right now, you're seeing not professional politicians. You're seeing mom and dads step up and say, just like me, we were silent for too long. Now we got to make a change.
That's right.
We got to do something. Okay, so you did, I think, again, really great in the recall, especially in this region, in this district. But now, especially for a novice like me, somebody who's just getting in and learning things, they're talking about these redistricting, drawing lines. All I can think about is when they talk about drawing lines, I just see like a schoolroom of like kindergartners with crayons, just like, let's draw lines over here.
That's pretty accurate, actually.
I mean, what is this drawing line? How can they just change what's going on?
Yeah. So I'll address that. First, I want to say, you say you're a political novice, and that's actually a really important point. Is that this sort of movement from the recall to what it's now become, the number one thing I hear is people saying that they weren't involved in politics before, that they are for the first time because they just felt they have to stand up and fight. And that is how you create a change, is when people come off the sidelines and get involved. And we're seeing that happen like never before. But to the thing about the redistricting, so every 10 years we have a census, right?
Okay.
And it shows how the population of the state has changed. Of course, California didn't do well in this last census. We just actually... our population grew slower than other states over the last 10 years, and it actually declined over the last couple years. Wow. And so we lost one of our seats in Congress because that's all done according to population. And so every 10 years, they do.
And I know they're happy it happened then, because if it happened now, we could have lost 2. I see the exodus.
Absolutely right. In fact, we almost did lose 2. It was very close.
Wow.
Yes, the exodus has been unlike anything we've ever seen over the last couple years. It's truly, and just anecdote, I'm sure you can say the same thing. Every day I talk to people who are leaving. It's really, really sad. But so they redraw the lines because we have, districts for the state assembly, for the state senate, and for Congress. And so we have this now, quote unquote, independent commission that has a process of saying, okay, we're going to figure out what the districts look like. And so this year they just kind of completely changed everything.
Kids with crayons.
Yeah.
Just color. Now, is it a political party, or is it made up of just... are they appointed people? Who does that drawings?
Yeah, so
other than kindergartners.
So in most states, it's actually done by the legislature, and in fact, that was the way it was done in California until 10 years ago. But then there was a voter initiative passed that said it's going to be done by this independent commission, and so it consists of 15 commissioners. 5 are registered Republicans, 5 are registered Democrats, 5 are registered independents. Wow. And I believe they're appointed by the state auditor. There's some very involved process to selecting them. And so they have been sort of doing these meetings and drawings for the last several months, and they finally finalized the maps at the end of last year.
And because of the maps, it changes where people, where they're running at, where they're able to represent, and now they're having to shuffle and move, and everything's going. In our area, Tom McClintock's been our congressman since I was a child, I feel like. I mean, he has always been on the ballot. That's probably not true, but it feels like that. Brilliant man. I've sat down with him at this very table. We've had great conversations. But he is being shifted out of this area. I mean, his district got cut in half. Like, what happened?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what was the 4th district, which he now represents, it has kind of been cut in half. And so his campaign has announced he's going to be running in what is now the 5th district, which takes in kind of the southern half of the district as it now exists, and then a whole lot of other territory and kind of the motherlode counties. And so that he will.
What is that, like Folsom down to Fresno, Bakersfield?
It's more sort of westward. So it's kind of the motherlode counties like Mariposa, Tuolumne, Stanislaus, part of El Dorado County, and then a handful of others.
Wow. And just a snapshot, because he's won here handedly with virtually, I mean, he's had competitors. I've never seen him blink. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's just done a great job at winning his re-elections, and I think doing a good job in Congress, standing up. But his chances, his odds, does he have a competitor in that 5th district now?
Well, it's a very heavily Republican district. Actually, it's
it
as
is
solid as they,
no, I read the SAC-B, and they said no. I don't know.
Well, they could. I think it's got a 13-point Republican registration advantage.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow,
I don't know
big.
who the challenger would be there, but it's if we didn't win that seat, there'd be a real problem.
It's not like Omnibera or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay, but so that left this district, which is a brand new district.
That's right.
And we're District 4?
3 actually.
3. Gotta see colors, lines, numbers. It's kindergarten all over again.
No rhyme or reason to it.
So we're District 3, and that is. Tell me where that begins and ends.
Yeah, so it's all of Placer County, and it covers, I actually represent about 2/3 of the voters already in my assembly district. So it's all of Placer County, Folsom, and then some of Fair Oaks as well as Orangevale, and then a good part of El Dorado County too. Then all of Nevada County, then it goes up to Sierra and Plumas counties.
Wow.
And then it actually goes down along the eastern edge of the state, all the way down to Death Valley. So
that is a really wild.
It's a vast expanse of terrain, although most of the population is centralized relatively close to Sacramento.
Very nice. So, and you've made the announcement. I mean, this is big news, not breaking news because you've made the announcement, but you are running for that 3rd district Congress seat.
Yes.
And give me the Reader's Digest version. What does that mean? What's the process? What do you have to do to step out to make this happen?
Yeah, so it means that I'll be on the ballot pretty soon. Actually, in June is when the primary is. You'll get ballots in May to be the next representative for this area in Congress. And
then they take the top 2, Democrat, Republican. So just the top 2 move on.
Just top 2 move on to the November runoff. That's
right. And currently, how many are running against you?
So right now, I'm the only Republican who has announced for the seat. There's a Democrat named Kermit Jones, who's running as well. He's been running for some time, I think
I remember hearing he was going to run against Tom.
Right.
He was kind of like the one that they were going to try to push. So instead, they're going to basically he's the Democratic sacrificial lamb.
He's been running for some time and he's been out there. So, and it's a district that it's not quite as reliably Republican as the one we were talking about before.
Sure.
But it is, it leans in that direction. So it's certainly one that we should win and that I have every intention of winning.
The thing, though, Kevin, I've loved about your campaign before when you were running for against the recall, I think what I've loved about what you've done is you have made it very clear. You don't just represent Republicans, you represent the people. And I've seen you stand up and fight for people of all sorts of beliefs, of all sorts of backgrounds, and both parties. Because we've seen people in this one thing in this movement is that people who want their kids to have the choice of what's going in their body, they're not just Republicans. They're Republicans, Democrats, independent, unregistered, all sorts of, even undocumented. I mean, you have all sorts of people wanting the freedom to make the decision to be in their children's education and to be in their children's lives with what goes into their bodies and their health. And you stood up and fought for that. That wasn't a party issue. That was a people issue.
I appreciate you saying that because I think that's totally right, that the axis of politics has in many ways changed, that these traditional partisan labels have less meaning in the world we live in now, where the basic, dividing line is simply like sanity, and basic respect and decency in this time when, things have been so insane and parents and citizens have been treated with such disrespect, which is why I talk to a lot of Democrats. They say they're lifelong Democrats. Yeah. They say that they're voting Republican this year, not because they suddenly agree with, all Republican policies necessarily, but It's just they can't, they see that we have to change things. We can't continue to go down this road.
Yeah, that's big. And I think you've done a really good job of doing that and representing people and all of their freedoms, their rights, and fighting for them. So this is happening. People, one of the things I know, and I know it gets labeled in there, thrown in there, but I know it's so important, is raising funds, campaigning. So people can go to your website, they can donate, help support this cause, because I really think it's important. Now more than ever, what we found out is just voting for the president is not as important as maybe your governor, your legislator, your assembly. I mean, I actually think the president has less impact on my daily life than the governor's had and all of these other positions. So I think voting now and supporting local is really big, really important. And I'm confident. I mean, I'm looking forward to not only seeing you win, I've already said, I'm looking forward to going to the White House, going to DC and getting the tour.
Absolutely.
I need this.
I look forward to it as well.
I'll bring some delicious wine with me, and it will be an amazing experience. The governor's going to be running for re-election. You've already announced, obviously, you're not going to run for governor. Larry Elder's announced he's not going to run for governor. The guy with the bear is not running for governor. Who does that leave? Who's going to run against Newsom? Has anybody come out and said he's running against Newsom?
I mean, a couple people, maybe not like big names yet. I think there's a few who are still sort of thinking about it. So I don't want to sort of get ahead of anyone's announcement, but it is, very, very important.
You don't have to get ahead. Let me ask you, is Kevin Faulconer, has his name been brought up?
Yeah, I think he said he's considering it. So I don't know whether he's going to move forward or not, but he has certainly said he's thinking about it.
Okay. Is there anybody you wish right now that if they watch this could help push him over that wasn't going to run? Like Tom Cruise? Like who can we get The Rock? Like
Matt Oliver would be my number one choice. So if there's any, if you have any pull with that guy.
Yeah, not happening. Now your seat, this is the big question I get asked. And I'm going to be doing interviews with people running for your seat, your assembly seat. And even though there's a lot of people who say hey, it doesn't matter because we couldn't accomplish anything in the California Assembly, I disagree. I think you were a rallying point. You helped encourage, motivate, invigorate all the eights. You got people going and you gave them a voice when they didn't feel they had a voice. And you stepped out and you took risk and you spoke out. So it's really big to me. And you were my assemblyman. So whoever takes your spot's kind of an important deal to me. How do you feel about that? I mean, your spot's opened up. All of a sudden, there's a ton of people kind of clamoring for this spot. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's really important to have someone who will, hold the seat and will be someone who will fight.
Yeah.
There are some people who have already entered the race who I think absolutely fit that bill. And so I'm confident that, this new assembly district, which is now the 5th district, was the 6th district, is going to be in good hands.
It's tough for me because I've asked you this. I'm like, I know a couple of them. I'm friends with a couple of them. It's like picking your favorite child. You can't do that. How do you like be friends with both people and encourage them both, but, you can't just endorse one, can you endorse like a collective? One of these three, I want to win.
It is actually done sometimes. People do dual endorsements.
Because it's kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
The hope for California, where do you see us going? Is there hope for California?
I think there's definitely hope for California, and it's because of this citizens movement that is sprung up and that is continuing to build strength by the day. In this next step that I'm taking, I really see that's kind of the lens that I'm looking at it through. This is an opportunity to help to build, to grow our movement even more, and to use the national platform to sort of bring even more attention to what has gone so haywire in California, so that the rest of the country doesn't make the same mistakes, and there is a movement to make those same mistakes nationally. And so I think that California absolutely is at a breaking point in many ways. When you see the exploding crime rates, when you see the absolutely out of control homelessness, when you see everything else that is, just destroying the quality of life here to the point that lifelong Californians are leaving every day, I think that, there is change in the air. And 2022, I think, is really going to be a change election, both here and at a national level.
California high-speed rail, I just wanted your laugh. That's it.
I mean, Newsom is, quote, doubling down on it. $4.2 billion more in this year's budget. And by the way, that budget is $286 billion. When I came into the Assembly just 5 years ago, it was $100 billion less than that. That's how quickly the budget has grown. And what have we gotten for it? What have we gotten for it?
Where is it going right now? From Modesto or Bakersfield to, I mean, it's in the middle of California, and it's gone about a city. Or it's not even gone a city.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It doesn't, exactly.
Okay, universal health care. California State Universal Health Care.
Well, single payer, that's what they've done with this new bill. Or it's not a new bill, actually. They've had it out there. But it just passed a committee. That hadn't happened before. It passed the Assembly Health Committee on an 11-3 vote to create a government-run single-payer healthcare system that will literally double overall taxes in California.
Odds that it's going to go any further?
Well, it's probably not going to pass this year because it's a little bit complicated, but there's also a constitutional amendment that goes with it that would be what actually raises the taxes. That requires a 2/3 approval. So that means, in the Assembly side, they need to get 54 votes. There's only 56 Democrats right now because 4 seats are vacant. So that's kind of they're probably not going to get there. But the what's really the point of it, I think, is they put this out there, single payer health care, crazy, outrageous proposal, and then sort of in a stealthier manner, Newsom and the legislature are assembling something like a single payer system, sort of piece by piece. For example, with his proposal he just rolled out to provide Medi-Cal to all undocumented immigrants.
Yeah, wild. Vaccine mandates for children. You think it's going to remove the religious exemption? You think I feel like there's one guy within the team that always pushes that forward. I'm feeling like they don't have the guts to pull the trigger on this. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think that the way that people are fighting back against this is really stalled a lot of the impetus to actively remove that personal belief exemption. Now, with our legislature, you never know. So we need to keep fighting. We need to keep making our voices heard. And ultimately, the goal is to protect the personal belief option, to reverse the mandate itself, and to sort of, use this movement that has been created around this to, move forward this broader parent revolution to put power and choice in the hands of parents and families.
Biggest thing you think right now, the sleeper that's trying to get moved through, people don't know about, you wish they were raising more awareness or there was more awareness about, that they could help stop or bring that awareness and maybe make a change?
That's an interesting question. We are still sort of seeing starting to see the new bills for the year come in. So I'll probably know a lot more within a matter of a few weeks. I mean, the single payer thing and then just the budget process as well. Because the way the budget works in California is that the governor in January, which he just did a few days ago, he was at the podium for 3 hours talking about his $286
I don't listen to him anymore.
Budget.
Ever since he was coming out day after day after day after day,
I know, exactly.
It was always like, how much bad news can a person take?
Right, exactly. So that kind of is the opening salvo in the budget process. Then it goes to the legislature. But, we supposedly have this $31 billion surplus, they're saying right now. But we also have something like $1.5 trillion in unfunded liabilities at state and local level. So if you ignore all of that, then, okay, we have a surplus. What I've proposed is we should actually, return people money to taxpayers.
Crazy.
Like, let's suspend the gas tax right now, right?
Yeah.
51 cents a gallon.
It looks like he
take
might
off.
not suspend the gas tax, but suspend the gas tax hike.
Well, this is the thing that he does, right? So there's the gas prices are an all-time high. Gas taxes are higher in California than anywhere. All he did is say, okay, I'm gonna, not raise it another 3 cents this year, and then he calls that a gas tax holiday. It's like not really a holiday worth celebrating.
Yeah. You raised it $1.50 in the last year, and now and your actions and lack thereof. Okay, let's go even deeper as we're wrapping this up. Favorite winery in Napa?
Favorite winery in Napa? Man, I haven't spent a ton of time in Napa, but is there a House of Oliver affiliate?
I mean, you you could go
French
for it.
Laundry isn't a winery, so
no, but Plump Jack is, and hopefully you don't go there.
That's right. Not Plump Jack.
But but you're a wine drinker from time to time.
Wine drinker.
Prefer.
I love a lot of the wineries in Placer and El Dorado counties. I mean, we got some great ones.
Good answer. Almost like somebody running. But you prefer reds, whites?
Reds.
Okay, reds. Are you more of the full body, or you like softer Pinot Noir style?
I'm not too picky, but I think I like cabs.
Okay. So nice big cab. I mean, that's a Napa, staple right there. Nice big Napa cab. Okay. Let me ask you this. Now, this probably will get cut, but I'm curious. On the stand, when they asked you your favorite restaurant, and it wasn't House of Oliver, did you, how soon did it take to sink in? When was the first time somebody said something to you? Because I wasn't bothered. I saw it and was like, yeah, you said Frank Fats, which is also one of my wife and I's favorite, because that's where we ate when I proposed to my wife in Sacramento. So it's one of our favorites. It's a moment. And when you said it, I went, heck yeah, we've got similar styles. I really enjoy it. And then my phone was blown up with people like, he didn't say House of Oliver.
Yeah, same with mine. That's as soon as I got off the stage, I look at my phone and they're like, how could you not say House of Oliver? I was like, oh man, this is the biggest gaffe of my political career.
Not at all.
How did I not say House of Oliver? I've been, I froze. I've been, since I was a kid, I've been going to Fats, and I've always said it's my favorite restaurant. So when they asked it, I just sort of automatically said Fats.
Yep.
Like, how could I not say House of Oliver?
I get it though, but I find it funny that people got incensed.
Oh yeah, they were
over this misnomer that had no, they didn't give you a list of these questions in advance for you to prepare and know, but you did really good with the Placer County wine. So people can support you. Your website is?
Yeah, just electkevinkiley.com.
electkevinkiley.com. They can make a donation. Do you have any big campaign, any rally, anything coming up that they need to go to? They can go to. We haven't set these up yet. Where are we at?
Yeah, so we'll have a bunch starting probably in February, and so if you just follow my website, we'll have or social media, I'll put the information up there.
And one of the things I appreciate that you do the best is you have a blog. I encourage people to go and sign up for the blog. It gives not just information. I want to say kind of tongue in cheek, because I think that's where you have to be now with the way California's gone. But you are up to date information, what's going on behind the scenes, and what people can do to mobilize to make a difference. So if they're not a part of Kevin Kiley's blog, they could do that as well on the website.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to your victory. Looking forward to going to Washington. But a victory is not guaranteed. We have to fight. We've got to vote. And as I always say, vote and vote often. Until we drink together again, cheers.